And I'm Shelly.
And this is Neighboring Opinions!
So today we are doing the book emotions tag.
First emotion we're going to go for is happiness. So for happiness, I couldn't really narrow it down because I'm a very happy person. So a lot of books make me happy. So the first book would have to be How to Be Popular by Meg Cabot. And it was such a good book, and I didn't expect to be. I thought when I went to the bookstore that I was picking up a book called How Not to Be Popular, and I was like, that's a pretty cool book, How Not to Be Popular. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I brought home the wrong book. I was like, whatever, I'll read it anyways. It's about this girl who wants to see if it's more important to be popular, have the friends that she already has even though they're not popular, and she learns through all these trials, and there's this really cute relationship. At First Sight by Catherine Hapka, and I just buy a bunch of like random rom-coms. Sometimes I'll just go to Indigo and be like, okay, I like rom-coms, I'm sure I'll like this one. It was a really cute book.
Yeah, it says the romantic comedy at the top.
That's why I said rom-coms. It's like, I think.
Yeah, okay, I got
Teen
it.
Pulse.
You got it.
Don't push my face. It's about this girl, and she meets this guy in a planetarium, but they don't get to hear each other's names, and they look for each other. Then another one is from a series called Secrets of My Hollywood Life. This is the first book. First of all, the covers are so gorgeous. About this girl, and she's a celebrity. And later on in the books, you will get to meet her boyfriend. I love her boyfriend.
Why are you telling them what's going on later?
There's gonna be a boyfriend. You don't know who it is. There's a boyfriend. It's like 6 or 7 books. There's gonna be a boyfriend.
Okay, finally, since I chose one book per pile, but I know Carrie has like The Maze Runner multiple times. So the first book for Happy was High Society by Allie Carter. This one is kind of like in the point of view of like a family of thieves, and then they kind of go on heists. And it's really interesting. It's one of those like happy feel-good books.
Our next emotion
is
be
Sad by... No. I thought I was going to say a book.
Okay, again, I have more than one book, classic books, because pretty much when I was 10 or 9, I had this horrible like addiction to classic books, and they all made me cry. A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This wasn't scary in your typical way. It was scary, sad, and I was crying, and last time I was actually crying, like tears burning, like gulp in my throat. And then another book that has to have honorable mention is The Timekeeper by Mitch Albom. It's a really deep book. It makes you kind of question everything in life, like how it works, time, and how you...
Space.
Not space. It's time. It's The Timekeeper, Shelley.
Okay. My sad book is If I Stay by Gail Forman. This book made me cry like 10 times, and I don't know, it was really good. And I never use sticky notes, so it's true testament if there are sticky notes. Basically, what happens is Mia gets into a car crash, and then she kind of has to choose if she wants to like stay on Earth kind of thing. Yeah, if she wants to like live, or if she wants to like... 3 is
anger. I think if you saw our last review, you'll wish I picked for this.
Yeah.
The Maze Runner made me so angry by James Dashner. Okay.
That was the best intro ever.
Go click to that video if you want to know how I feel about it.
Okay, for me, I chose, okay, this is a really big book, The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This book was actually really good, and I loved it, but I was promised a romance, and sadly, the romance only appeared in the last 100 pages of the book, and when it happened, it literally came out of nowhere, and it made no sense, and I was like, what is going on? I was promised swooning, there was no swooning. That's the only thing that makes me angry, but besides that, like, the world building and all this stuff is great, so you should read it, but do not read it for the romance. Number 4 is nostalgic.
First of all, I love that word. It's not used nearly enough. But if I was doing nostalgic, I would do like a song.
Okay,
Owl City, pretty much. Everything by Owl City, and Brad Caleb Kane's voice. You do know who he is.
For me, I actually chose a book. Because, yeah.
Wow, Shelley, we're all so proud of you. Good job.
I chose House of Hades by Rick Riordan. I know. I know everybody probably chose Harry Potter because they're like, oh, my childhood, blah, blah, blah. I chose this because while everybody was off reading Harry Potter...
You read Harry Potter too.
Yes, but later in life. Came out last month. I was fangirling. I read it. Anyway, but it's also kind of sad because it's nearing to an end. Watch it. Read it! I think the majority of this video will be me and Carrie laughing. Motion number 5 is Scared.
Scared. You will never be casted in a horror movie. Pretty much, books don't really scare me. I haven't yet read a book, and I've tried to find one that's scary. So if you have a scary book, tell me about it. I want to feel scared.
Scared is Anti-Goddess by Kendra Blake. I know a lot of people said her Anna Dressed in Blood series is really scary, and I haven't read it. This is my first. It was actually supposed to be like Greek mythology, well, which it is. But basically, in this book, the gods are dying, and Athena's dying, but how she's dying is that there's feathers growing inside of her, coming out. And the descriptions, guys, I'm not even joking, so scary. It's like,
oh my god,
it's so scary. I get scared just trying to read it. I had a fear of feathers, and I know a lot of people did too.
But I love Athena and Isis.
Yeah. Then you'll love the Percy Jackson books.
Wait, Isis is in that?
No, he has another series, the Egyptian ones. And then soon he's building a Norse. Oh my gosh, guys. 2015, Norse. Imagine little demigod Thors. Number 6 is Surprise.
The book is called Things Not Seen. It's a book about this guy, and he wakes up one day, and he's invisible. And he doesn't understand how it happened or what to do. And it's really, really interesting. And once you find out how he became invisible, you're like, what in the world? How did you even think of something like this? It was so weird. So definitely read that. It was a really good book.
I'll read it. Book for Surprise, I chose Will Grayson by John Green and David Levitin.
I need to read that.
I love John Green as a person, but I'm not like the biggest fan of his books, and I've only read. I'm still thinking about it. But so I decided to give this one a try because I know David Levitin wrote so many books. I have to kind of read them all now. What each author did was they each wrote one Will Grayson, the other one wrote another. So I really liked both Will Graysons, but I like David Levitin's Will Grayson a lot more than John Green's. I'm sorry. It was still good. Emotion number 7 is Disappointed.
And once more, we know which book I will pick.
Oh, no. Okay, The Maze Runner is a given for all of, like, the negative emotions. So, Maze Runner, moving on to the next one. She didn't even finish this book, so...
Legend by Mary Lou. Everyone was like, best series ever. So I started reading it, and I only got through a third of the book because I was so, like, so many things didn't make sense. Like,
until you read it.
No. Things didn't make sense. Like, the way that they made the characters, their emotions, they didn't feel real.
Yes,
but I don't know. I was really disappointed. I really want to like this book. One day, I will probably finish it, but I really just didn't like it. Maybe my views will change, but for now, ugh.
For me, disappointing is The Beginning of Everything by Robin Schneider. Don't get me wrong, I still really, really like this book, but I heard so many great things about the love interest because male hero, yeah. I don't know, it looked promising, but Cassidy was just so, I just didn't like her at all, so I found that kind of disappointing.
High expectations.
And yes, there was a couple plot twists that I so predicted, and then I hated myself for predicting them because I was right, but I predicted it, and I don't think a lot of people would, but I don't know.
Shellys secretly Sherlock.
Yeah,
so.
I'm Shirley Holmes, guys. You can call me that. Emotion number 8.
Distress. For Distressed, it's Divergent. I love the story, but there were just parts in the book where she just did some things that at points were like, oh, what are you thinking?
And the movie's coming out.
Yeah, excited. So excited, but no Uriah. How can you have a movie without... That makes me extremely distressed. Uriah is like a main character in the book, and he's not in the movie. I'm sorry.
The book I chose, Dangerous Girls by Abigail Haas. The author's real name is Abby McDonald. I got this book free from Simon & Schuster Canada. Woo. Yeah, because they're awesome. Anyway, it's a mystery, and surprisingly, I'm really bad at predicting mysteries. Don't ask me why. It was really good, and the ending, I don't know, I was more like distressed at like, how could you do this to me? Because that ending though. I didn't even see it coming, guys. Yeah. Girl. Question number 9 is Confused. Maze Runner Flash. I chose Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I really enjoyed this book, but when I think of confusion, I think of this book only because, I don't know, some parts of the setting really confused me. I don't know, I read the sequel too, and we're all waiting for Ruin and Rising, the 3rd book, but some parts kind of confused me, like, why is Alina the only one who could help the countries? I didn't understand why certain things were happening, and like the Darkling, I don't get it. Why does everybody ship him and Alina, and why does Alina feel all these things? Like, what's going on? But it was still good. And the last category is all the feels. Jazz hands.
Pretty much to sum it up, whenever I'm reading a book and I don't give up on it. I have all the feels. I just have to get attached to things. I'm gonna have to say a book called Girls of Riyadh. So pretty much it's a book based on true events of this Saudi Arabian girl.
Yeah, you told me all about it. It sounds too sad for me though.
And it's about like 4 main girls that pretty much goes around their stories and what happens in their life, and it introduces you to like a new culture, and it's just like, oh my gosh, and you feel so connected to them. Like you feel like you could be a character in that book and one of their best friends.
The book I chose is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This book / series is probably one of my favorite books / series of like all time. I don't know, guys, all the feels. I was actually gonna put this under happy, and then because I don't know, every time I think about this book, I'm like, oh, like, whew. But then I realized that's more associated with all the feels, and because there is kind of sad parts. So
I have to read that too.
Read it if you haven't, and if you have, tell me this does have all the feels, right? I'm not crazy. I just want to know. So.
Have you been tested? Are you Sheldon Cooper? Yeah. Emotions. Okay, we should do this like really quickly. Ready? Happiness, sadness, anger, nostalgic, scared, surprise, stress, confused,
and all the feels. That needs like a wave, like all the feels wave. All the feels wave. Try it. It's fun.